I want to talk to you about quality of life, specifically the quality of life experienced by children diagnosed with full trisomy 13 or trisomy 18. In this video, I hope to dispel some of the myths and misunderstandings that many people hold about the quality of the lives led by trisomy children, as well as the lives of their families. The first question to ask is, what do we mean when we say quality of life? The Cambridge Dictionary defines quality of life as the level of satisfaction and comfort that a person or group enjoys. As straightforward as this sounds, it is nowhere near as simple to state exactly what constitutes a good or bad quality of life. It is a highly subjective, highly relative term that is incredibly difficult to define. Usually, the best way to find out somebody's quality of life is simply to ask them. However, due to their severe intellectual impairment, unfortunately, trisomy children are almost always entirely non-verbal. They may, at some point in their lives, acquire the ability to understand and even use a few key words to express themselves. However, in the vast majority of cases, trisomy children cannot verbally communicate their thoughts and feelings in clear and precise ways. This means that we must rely upon non-verbal cues to try to understand how they are feeling, to assess their quality of life on their behalf. As the father of a 3-year-old trisomy 13 boy, the signs I use to understand my son's quality of life are as follows. Is he playing with his toys, or does he appear restless, often dropping his toys and appearing to search for something that he cannot find? Is he smiling often throughout the day, or is he crying a lot? Does he smile or laugh when I tickle him or talk to him, or is he unresponsive to my interactions? And lastly, is he sleeping soundly or waking up regularly? Asking myself these questions is the best way for me to get the clearest possible picture of his internal state, and to use this information to determine how best to take care of him and ensure that he has the highest possible quality of life. The first misconception that I want to address is that trisomy children exist in a near constant state of pain, discomfort, and misery, that their lives are painful, arduous affairs. In actuality, nothing could be further from the truth. Whilst it is an unfortunate fact that trisomy children are often subjected to more hospital visits, surgeries, and other medical procedures than the average child, these periods of stress, pain, and hardship are often very much the exception in the average trisomy child's life. The vast majority of their time is spent at home with their families, surrounded by love and made to be as comfortable as possible at all times. In a study done in the Journal of Pediatrics, 97% of the parents of trisomy children studied stated that their children were happy and that they had a positive view of the quality of life of their family and child. It is unfortunate that many people instinctively judge people with severe mental or physical disabilities as likely to be leading lives of low quality. However, this is inaccurate to the point of absurdity. The fact is that many people with the most severe disabilities are actually some of the happiest, most fulfilled, most content people among us. Their lives are limited and restricted by forces outside their control, but they push forward, survive, and even thrive in spite of their disabilities. Trisomy children are also completely unaware of the parts of life that are unattainable to them. They do not lament their lack of intellectual proficiency or physical dexterity. They are not lying around all day curled up in bed, grieving the loss of their ability to speak or run or dance. They don't understand and know nothing of the world around them. They exist in their own worlds, in their own bubbles. It's the job of their parents and carers to ensure that those bubbles are the happiest, most comfortable places for them to live. And it is also up to their parents and carers to assess and reassess their quality of lives for them, and do whatever they can to maintain the highest possible standard. The second misconception that I want to erase from existence is that trisomy children inflict a massive and unendurable burden on their families, condemning their parents to living in a damaged relationship and their siblings to a life of reduced opportunity and relative neglect. Of course, with the welcoming of a trisomy child into the family comes a massive injection of potential stress, added financial pressure, and an investment of parental time and energy that is surpassed by little else. However, the same could be said for any genetically healthy baby that was left with disabilities after a difficult birth, or a parent who suddenly suffered a crippling injury. All challenges are accompanied with the risk of failure and the risk of suffering, of not just ourselves but our loved ones too. But they are also where we can find the most profound enlightenment, the deepest, most secure human connections, and where we have the potential to grow as individuals, as partners, and as parents. I myself am the parent of both a trisomy child and a healthy child, and I can say with absolute certainty that our family is extraordinarily happy. My full trisomy 13 son enjoys all the comforts in life that he could ever dream of, and my daughter has as much of her parents' attention and time that she could ever ask for, and ask she does. Yes, our daily activities are sometimes restricted by my son's condition, and yes, we have to plan our vacations and family outings more carefully than the average family. But I truly believe that we are an infinitely stronger and happier family with our son than without him. And finally, why is all this even important? It is well documented that healthcare providers are often unwilling to perform surgery or other medical interventions on trisomy children because they view these interventions as being futile. They're viewed as futile for a number of reasons, but one of the most significant ones is that their quality of life is supposedly too low, and that they would therefore be better off dying than continuing to suffer through life. How do they come to the conclusion that trisomy lives are not worth living, I hear you ask? Well, in a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, the author states that the phrase quality of life is often misused as a synonym for physical or neurological impairment. In other words, trisomy children are severely disabled, and therefore their lives are not worth living, and therefore medical care should be withheld or be exclusively palliative. The fact is that parents of trisomy children are often forced to fight for their children's healthcare to be taken seriously. They're forced to confront and combat outdated, conservative hospital policies, circumvent stubborn, uninformed doctors, and put up with the negative, ignorant attitudes of some members of the general public. I can personally attest to all of this myself, as can a huge number of trisomy parents that I know and know of. I'm quite happy to fight for my son. There's nothing in the universe that is more worth fighting for than my son's life. I made that choice, and I would make it again, I would fight for him to the ends of the earth and back again, without a single second thought. But I shouldn't have to. None of us trisomy parents should have to. And I hope that in the future, as more people come to understand that our children are more to us and more to society than simply their disabilities, that we won't have to anymore. Trisomy children's lives are worth living. In the beautiful words of Tracy Harkin, my son is not incompatible with life. He is the love of our lives.